Baja California is a place that looks empty on the map, but refuses to be simple. This land is literally tearing itself away from Mexico, pulling apart inch by inch, year by year. On one side, the Pacific Ocean crashes violently against cliffs. On the other, the Sea of Cortez stays calm, warm, and alive. So rich that Jacques Cousteau called it the aquarium of the world. Every year, the largest animals ever to exist on Earth choose these shallow lagoons to give birth, trusting humans here more than anywhere else on the planet. And above it all, even the birds break the rules. Blue-footed boobies are lighting up the coast with their flashing neon feet. Far inland, Catavina looks like the ground did something strange. The desert is covered with smooth, round rocks the size of houses, sitting out in the open like they were placed there on purpose. Then the coast changes again. Near Los Amargos, the sea leaves behind shallow pools so salty, you float without trying. Almost no roads reach this place. No buildings fill the view. Just water, salt, and quiet. This is the Baja most people don't expect. Vineyards, house-sized rock formations, and things that don't match the idea of a desert region. The farther we go, the more unexpected it gets. This water is calm for exactly 1 second. Then, Mobulas break the surface, like something down there is chasing them. Every jump comes with a triple spin before they crash back into the sea. A single one can launch itself over 6 feet above the water and pass far above the surface. When tens of thousands gather, those airborne bursts sync up, and the impacts roll across the sea like distant thunder. Beneath the surface, their formations, called fevers, slide together as one dark mass, swirling like a living underwater tornado. Meanwhile, scientists still don't know exactly why they jump. Some suggest parasite removal, while others think it's a form of long-distance communication. Unlike manta rays, mobulas carry a tail with a venomous spine, yet they're harmless and never use it on humans. Over time, tracking has revealed they can migrate great distances, following invisible ocean highways only recently mapped by satellites. Even more remarkably, babies are born mid-swim and must instantly master movement, sent through water without any guidance at all. This spectacular gathering happens in one of the planet's richest marine environments, the Sea of Cortez. Here, the water holds more marine species per square mile than almost anywhere else on Earth, and the result is an underwater city teeming with life. In fact, people now jet ski and parasail through waters so clear they can spot whale sharks swimming beneath them from the air. The sea itself was born when a chunk of land tore away, which creates a new ocean basin between two pieces of crust. Over time, some fish species evolved in complete isolation and now exist nowhere else on the planet. Underwater volcanoes continue to pump superheated water into the depths, and this forms oases where strange creatures survive on chemicals instead of sunlight. Tides shift water levels dramatically, emptying and refilling entire bays twice a day like a giant natural bathtub. This abundant marine area attracts animals that take advantage of abundant food, from whales feeding on swarming shrimp to dolphins cooperating with humans to catch fish. Among all these creatures, the whale shark ranks as the largest visitor, returning each year to these waters. Each individual has a unique spot pattern like a fingerprint, so no two are exactly alike anywhere in the world. They can live for more than a century, which places them among the longest-lived fish in the ocean. Their mouths stretch wide enough to swallow a person whole, though their throat is only as wide as a grapefruit. Tiny teeth cover their eyeballs, acting like built-in armour to protect their eyes as they glide through the ocean. These gentle giants dive deeper than most submarines can go, then rocket back to the surface to feed on clouds of plankton. Baby whale sharks hatch from eggs inside their mother, and she gives birth to hundreds of live babies at once. Scientists once thought these animals were solitary wanderers, but satellite tracking revealed secret meeting spots scattered across entire oceans. They often share the water with thousands of Mobula rays that gather in massive groups near Cabo San Lucas. This town sits at the exact point where two massive bodies of water crash together, the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez. The collision stirs powerful underwater currents that pull nutrients from the ocean floor, which turns the area into an all-you-can-eat buffet for marine life. Fishermen can catch over a dozen different fish species in a single morning because the mixing waters attract everything from marlin to tuna. Sea lions swim right up to tourists in the water, curious and playful, like underwater puppies looking for attention. Pirates once hid in these waters, waiting to ambush treasure ships, and some of their sunken loot still lies buried on the seafloor. Over time, the beach sand here formed not from rocks, but from crushed pieces of coral and shells ground down by waves. Luxury resorts now stand on the same cliffs where lookouts once watched for approaching ships centuries ago. All this marine chaos centres around a giant stone gateway known as the Arch that rises from the meeting point of both seas. Just beyond the waves, one side of the rock formation faces water so calm you can float without moving, while the other side crashes with waves tall enough to flip boats. Nearby Divorced Beach sits on one side, where dangerous currents have pulled swimmers out to sea, while Lovers Beach on the other side remains perfectly safe. At low tide, you can even walk on a beach that disappears underwater just hours later when the tide returns. Over thousands of years, the ocean carved this tunnel through solid rock, using nothing but water, sand, and constant pounding. Today, the arch is slowly being eaten away by waves and will eventually collapse into the ocean, over time. As the day goes by, the rocks change colour with the sun, shifting from gold to orange to deep red like a slow-motion light show. Brown pelicans perch on every available ledge around the arch, ready to dive bomb into the fish-filled waters below. When they strike, these birds crash into the ocean at speeds faster than a car on a highway, and their skulls have special air pockets that act like built-in airbags. They can rotate their wings backward during a dive to become more aerodynamic, basically transforming their body into a living arrow mid-flight. Their throat pouch can hold 3 times more fish than their stomach, like carrying groceries in a bag bigger than your belly. Pelicans will sometimes steal fish from each other's pouches by stabbing their beak into another bird's throat pouch while it is still trying to swallow its catch. Flying in perfect V formations, they conserve energy by riding the air currents created by the bird in front. They drink salt water and have special glands above their eyes that filter out the salt, which then drips out through their nostrils like a built-in desalination plant. When the ocean gets too rough or storms hit, some pelicans fly inland to mountain streams or the sheltered canyons of the Sierra de la Laguna for safer fishing. Rising from the surrounding desert, these mountains form a rare sky island, isolated by arid lowlands on all sides. As the climate shifted over time, species that once ranged far to the north became trapped here, cut off as desert spread around them. Now oak and pine grow beside palms and cacti in combinations found nowhere else on Earth. Clear streams run year-round, fed by groundwater stored far below in granite rock. Moist air from the sea rises along the slopes, condensing into rain and fog that water the peaks, while the desert below remains dry. After dark, pumas move through these rocky corridors, hunting the deer and small mammals that come to drink from the streams. These cats are so silent when stalking that the target often never senses danger until it is already too late to run. A single one needs a territory bigger than most cities to survive, moving along the same routes night after night. From a standstill, they can leap remarkable distances in a single bound. When they strike, pumas bring down prey with a bite to the back of the neck that crushes the spine in seconds, with teeth strong enough to punch through bone. They hunt everything from tiny rabbits to animals much larger than themselves, adjusting tactics based on what is available. An individual can eat a large meal in one sitting, then go more than a week without feeding as the food slowly digests. Mothers teach their cubs to hunt by bringing them wounded prey to practice on. Just miles from where pumas hunt in darkness, Balandra Beach sits in blinding sunlight, with water so calm and clear it looks fake. Its shape creates a natural barrier that blocks waves from entering, which transforms rough ocean water into a mirror-flat lagoon. Sunlight reflects off the white sand through crystal clear water, giving the turquoise bay a glow so bright it almost seems unreal. Beneath your feet, the white sand is not actually sand, but crushed shells, and coral ground so fine it squeaks with every step. Mangrove trees line parts of the shore, their roots jutting up through the sand like fingers and creating hiding spots for baby fish to grow safely away from predators. Sand dollars cover the seafloor, in certain spots so thick you have to watch each step to avoid crushing them, like walking through a living minefield. To keep the beach pristine, only a set number of visitors are allowed each day, and food vendors are banned entirely. This protected paradise sits on a peninsula that also holds inland oases, where entire towns grew around permanent springs, like the historic settlement of Eroica Mulegé. It earned its name after residents fought off invading forces during the war, when a peaceful oasis was transformed into an unlikely battlefield. A river flows through the middle of this desert town year-round, fed by underground springs that never stop, even when it does not rain for months. Centuries-old date palm trees still produce fruit today, creating a green tunnel through an otherwise brown and dry desert. A mission church sits on a hill overlooking the oasis, built by hand from stone, carried up the slope piece by piece over years of construction. Just downstream from this desert miracle, the river empties into Bahia Conception, where the water turns from fresh to impossibly blue salt. The bay is so long and sheltered that storms can rage in the open ocean, while the water here stays calm enough for kayaks and tiny fishing boats. Dozens of tiny coves line the edges, each with its own pocket of white sand, so campers can sleep on separate beaches and still share the same bay. The water is clear enough that stingrays, starfish, and schools of fish can be seen from a moving car driving along the highway above. Some of the islands in the bay are so close to shore that people can paddle there in minutes, yet they still hold wildlife that rarely sees humans. The peninsula that creates this protected bay also shields inland valleys, where wine grapes grow in defiance of the surrounding desert at Valle de Guadalupe. Despite the harsh setting, the vines survive on minimal water and yield smaller fruit, packed with far more flavour than those from many famous wine regions. At night, powerful winds roll in from the ocean, cooling the valley and giving the harvest a daily shock that helps lock in strong taste and aroma. As a result, winemakers mix grape types forbidden in traditional regions, discard old rules, and produce flavours found nowhere else. Some wineries still crush grapes by foot for special batches, treating the process more like a family ritual than a factory job. Many cellars are carved into hillsides or built from old ship containers, which keep the wine cool without relying on machines. The same creative spirit that drives these winemakers to break tradition also fills the art studios and cobblestone streets of San José del Cabo. Murals cover old walls and alleys, and new layers are painted over old ones, so the town is literally stacked with hidden artwork beneath the fresh paint. Many studios double as homes, so visitors sometimes walk straight into an artist's living room while the piece is still being finished. Traditional crafts like weaving, pottery, and carving are sold alongside bold modern pieces, so one small street can feel like walking through several art worlds at once. Further north lies an island that shares the name but could not be more different: Isla San José. It stretches across golden and white sand beaches, with rocky arches forming tunnels paddlers can float through as fish and crabs move below. Sunlight turns the cliffs red at certain points, where long-standing mineral deposits have stained the stone. These are just a glimpse of the wild rock formations inland, where Catavina turns the desert into a playground of stacked boulders. Many rocks appear scattered, yet some balance on tiny points, with pieces larger than a house resting on bases smaller than a car. Some granite blocks are split perfectly in half, even though no fault line runs through them. Boojum trees twist and curl, their thick tips pointing skyward and thin roots underground, with loops that show strange shapes baffling scientists for decades. The world's tallest cacti rise between the rocks, some so old they began growing long before any road existed nearby. Tiny pools appear in cracks after rare storms, and desert animals memorize their locations, passing the knowledge down through generations. By the sea in Loreto, colonial churches marked the beginning of European history in the Californias. From this small town, plans were once drawn up to control the region, yet today it feels quieter than many modern suburbs. It earned its magical town title for preserving traditions, culture, and history so well that visiting feels like stepping back in time. Beneath the plaza, archaeologists uncovered layers of earlier structures, revealing a town centre built on centuries of history. Just offshore, protected islands teem with marine life, earning the area the nickname the world's aquarium, with blue whales, dolphins, sea lions, and giant rays passing nearby. Visitors now travel not just for history and wildlife, but also to play along a coastline redesigned into fairways and greens at Gulf Loreto Bay. Tee shots come with desert cactus at their backs and the Sea of Cortez directly ahead, where a bad slice can end up in the water. Several holes weave through natural estuaries or sit near the tide line, letting players share fairways with herons, egrets and fish, while waves can change play within a single round. Rather than bulldozing rock outcrops and arroyos, the course bends around them and uses desert plants instead of grass, so groundskeepers water only the greens. The contrast is striking: trimmed grass on one side, untouched ocean on the other, with 5 volcanic islands rising in Loreto Bay National Marine Park. Some islands are packed with nesting seabirds, including the famous blue-footed boobies, with feet so bright blue they look spray-painted. Brighter colouring signals better health, so females ignore dull-footed males and choose those showing the strongest signs of fitness. Males show off by lifting each foot in a slow, deliberate dance, flashing their bright toes while offering twigs or scraps as half-hearted gifts. When hunting begins, they dive from high above like thrown spears, their reinforced skulls and necks built to survive the impact. At the sight of a large fish school, one bird signals the rest, and the group plunges together, bombarding the water in a coordinated aerial strike. Young birds hatch with pale feet and only gain their signature blue colour later, once a steady diet of oily fish fuels their growth. These noisy bird colonies sit above quiet, clear water, where another group of smart hunters is always nearby, the dolphins. They use signature whistles that act like names, calling specific friends the way humans shout across a playground. Sleep comes with only half the brain at a time, keeping one eye open to breathe and watch for danger. When hunting together, the pod forms tight circles around fish and releases walls of bubbles, which transform the air into an invisible net. With echolocation, they detect tiny differences between nearly identical objects, allowing them to hunt and navigate in murky water. Some even carry sea sponges on their noses to protect themselves against sharp rocks and coral while digging for hidden fish. Newborns arrive tail first to avoid drowning, and mothers push them to the surface immediately for their first breath. Over time, these intelligent hunters build lifelong bonds and have been seen staying with deceased pod members for days. From these protected marine waters full of intelligent life, the coastline eventually gives way to one of the peninsula's strangest sights, the shifting sands of Dunas de Soledad. Here, the dunes move like living waves across the desert, swallowing everything in their path and depositing it years later on the other side. The sand forms a giant barrier, shielding mangrove forests behind it from storms and crashing waves that could otherwise devastate them. Without this natural wall, salt water would flood the estuaries and kill the trees that rely on a precise balance of fresh and salt water. Constant winds reshape the dunes, and they erase trails and landmarks overnight, like someone wiping a chalkboard clean. Some dunes rise so high that reaching the top feels like climbing a mountain of powder that slips away underfoot. Footprints vanish within hours, so the desert looks untouched no matter how many visitors pass through. Past this wind-sculpted desert, an unexpected oasis springs from the ground with fruit trees and old mission walls at La Purísima. Here, underground springs flow year-round in a desert that sees almost no rain, sustaining the village and dooming it if the water ever stops. Date palms planted centuries ago still bear fruit, while wild grapes grow beside cactus. Along the peninsula, each coastal town has its own unique personality, but one stands out, earning a nickname for its unlikely transformation: Ensenada, the Cinderella of the Pacific. It earned its fairy tale name after jumping from a quiet fishing port that few notice to a major stop for cruise ships and tourists almost overnight. Right along the shore, street vendors sell grilled fish and handmade crafts within sight of industrial cranes loading containers bound for distant ports. Cold ocean currents keep the water chilly year-round, helping sea life survive while swimmers shiver, perfect for fishing, but not beach lounging. This fishing culture gave birth to one of the world's most copied street foods, the fish taco, invented right here on these very streets. The idea was simple: take cheap, fresh fish, fry it in a light batter, tuck it into a tortilla, and sell it hot to hungry dock workers. Recipes were passed down by memory, with kids learning the batter by watching, not measuring. Baja style means beer-battered fish fried until golden and crispy, a technique borrowed from immigrant crews who shared their tempura methods. From trial and error came the now classic combo of crispy fish, shredded cabbage, creamy sauce and salsa, all designed to stay crunchy, fresh and affordable. Tourists, food bloggers and fishermen line up side by side, enjoying the same simple sidewalk stands that sparked a global trend. Nearby, nature puts on its own show, as waves rocket skyward through a rock tunnel at La Bufadora. The opening works like a sideways geyser, driven by cold Pacific waves forced into a narrow sea cave. As each surge crashes inside, trapped air compresses and blasts water straight up through the opening with a rumbling roar. Between eruptions, the hole goes quiet and looks harmless. Then, without warning, it explodes again, catching new visitors off guard every few seconds. On big swells, the spray can soak people standing far back on the viewing platforms, drenching anyone who thought they were safe. Its steady roar contrasts sharply with the dead quiet of inland salt flats baking under the sun at Los Amargos. Here the water is far saltier than the ocean, so dense that you can float without moving. That extreme salt comes from minerals rising from underground, mixing with water that evaporates faster than it can drain away. Almost nothing survives these extremes except brine shrimp, whose diet of microscopic algae stains the pools pink and red. Where life is limited in some places, Cabo Pulmo National Park bursts with so much ocean life that people call it the world's aquarium. Not long ago, this reef was nearly lifeless, but after fishing stopped, life returned within a decade as fish numbers grew and drew in powerful predators from across the sea. The recovery also made these waters a top whale-watching destination, with humpbacks, grey whales, and even blue whales passing close. From December to April, the sea becomes a highway of giants, travelling thousands of miles to give birth and teach their young to survive. Blue ones feed on tiny creatures, while curious grey calves swim right up to boats alongside their mothers. Some of these giants even spy hop, pop their heads straight out of the water to check out the boats. Humpback whales sing so loudly underwater that their haunting songs carry through boat hulls, without any special equipment. Some launch so near shore you can watch them from the beach without leaving land. And it's not just whales. Hammerhead sharks now cruise in formations that slice through the water like underwater fighter jets. Their hammer-shaped heads detect tiny electrical pulses, give nearly complete vision, and let groups move in perfect sync. They use the reef like a cleaning station, hovering while smaller fish pick parasites off their skin and gills. Once they were nearly wiped out because their fins were worth more than gold. Now, they gather in massive numbers and are known to ambush massive schools of fish. These fish swarm into dense balls that darken the water, blocking the sunlight as if ink were poured into the sea. Divers call them fish tornadoes because they can tower taller than a building and spread wide enough to swallow a boat if they reach the surface. It sounds crazy, but fish at the centre of these balls are actually safer than the ones on the outside, so they all fight to stay in the middle. Predators strike from all sides at once, sharks surging from below, birds plunging from above, and larger fish charging through the gaps. The chaos unfolds in seconds, leaving prey less than a heartbeat to escape before jaws snap shut. Away from this chaos, the great mural rock art covers canyon walls inland with paintings that have outlasted entire civilizations. Some figures are so tall and massive that the artists likely worked from scaffolding or ladders, yet no one knows how they built stable platforms inside caves of uneven rock. It seems impossible, yet the paint still clings to the walls because it was made from ground minerals mixed with animal fat and plant juices. The people who created these works vanished, leaving no descendants or reason for the art. Yet stranger still, new paintings in the same style appeared for centuries. While these silent walls guard mysteries that may never be solved, the coastal town of Todos Santos buzzes with life where desert mountains collide with ocean waves. The government named it a Pueblo Mágico, or magic town, for preserving old buildings and traditions instead of replacing everything with hotels and parking lots. Streets come alive during the Day of the Dead, filled with decorated altars, painted faces, and flower petals honouring relatives as if they were still with the family. By the time new settlers arrived, their culture and language had vanished, leaving the original inhabitants of southern Baja California Sur extinct since the late 18th century. A short drive south takes you to Playa Los Cerritos, home to some of the friendliest surf breaks, perfect for first-timers. The beach has a sandy bottom with no sharp rocks or coral, so it is safer than most surf spots that would shred your skin. Waves sort themselves naturally. Small ones roll close to shore for beginners, while bigger sets break further out for pros. The ocean floor stays soft sand all the way out, so falling feels more like landing on a cushion than concrete. While surfers ride forgiving waves, the protected waters around Isla Espiritu Santo hold an entirely different kind of paradise built on volcanic rock. Over time, volcanic ash and lava piled up and tilted sideways by earthquakes, forming colourful layers that resemble a rainbow of dirt. Some animals evolved so differently from their mainland relatives that they became entirely new species, found nowhere else on Earth. Even the cacti are unique. One species grows only on this island and dies if planted anywhere else. Sailors named this island Holy Spirit because they thought they saw religious visions here, probably just heat stroke and dehydration, playing tricks on their minds. The wildest part is that sea lions chose this remote volcanic rock as their home base, filling the shores with barking colonies and letting curious humans swim right up to them. These animals treat snorkelers like toys, circling playfully and flipping so close you feel the water move from their tails. Remarkably, they recognise individual humans, remembering them from trip to trip, and greeting familiar faces like old friends. Babies beg for rides by climbing onto strangers' backs underwater, which turns snorkeling into an unexpected petting zoo. Males fight over beach territory by staring each other down until one blinks, then the loser slinks away without a single bite. Females teach pups to swim by nudging them off rocks and watching them flail until they figure out how to paddle. The colony smells so strong from miles away that boats have to anchor upwind or everyone on board gags. Sea lions eat so much fish that their poop turns bright red from shrimp shells, streaking rocks in neon colours. While they play in island waters, the northern border pulses with non-stop energy, where Tijuana mixes cultures like a blender on high speed. Once known for its dangers, the city now draws crowds of food lovers every weekend, sampling dishes found nowhere else. Chefs combined ingredients and techniques from both sides of the border, creating flavors unique to this lively city. In less than a generation, Tijuana became one of the world's top dining destinations, with people crossing an international border just to eat and return home the same day. The city grows faster than almost any on Earth, with new buildings sprouting so quickly that maps become outdated within months. Even as the border city never sleeps, the interior desert hides San Ignacio, where thousands of date palms grow impossibly green in the middle of nowhere. Underground springs bubble up constantly, turning desert into fertile farmland without the need for dams. The imported date palms grew so successfully that wild animals now depend on them, and the oasis hums with frogs and dragonflies. Birds use this green patch as a refueling station on long migrations, resting and eating before flying onto coasts and wetlands. One of the regular visitors is the white ibis, a bright white wading bird that uses its curved orange bill to hunt in the shallow water. Remarkably, it often finds food without even seeing it, feeling for wriggling creatures in the mud like a blindfolded kid winning every guessing game. The ibis usually feeds in groups, marching side by side through flooded patches, so nothing hiding under the surface can slip past their moving wall of legs and beaks. When the water level drops, they follow the shrinking edges of the lagoon like living vacuum cleaners, scooping up prey that other animals miss. Young ones start with dull colours and only turn bright white with a strong orange bill after they learn to feed well enough to stay healthy. They remember good feeding spots and return to the same tiny corner of the lagoon year after year. As they patrol the open shallows, a smaller and more secretive hunter waits in the reeds nearby, the green heron. Surprisingly, it is one of the few animals on Earth that fishes with tools, dropping bugs, breadcrumbs, or tiny leaves on the water to lure fish in. When a fish comes up to nibble the bait, the heron strikes so fast that the fish barely has time to turn its head. It behaves more like a patient little fisherman than a bird, and stands perfectly still for long stretches just to land the perfect catch. They often return to the same favourite fishing spots and even use the same types of bait, as if following a secret recipe only they understand. Young birds watch adults then experiment with different objects, learning through trial and error. When the lagoon fills with bigger birds, the green heron simply melts back into the reeds, hunting alone in quiet corners, while everyone else fights over the main pool. This is Baja California, a land of hidden wonders and remarkable architectural marvels. Now, if you don't want to miss the most unreal wonders of Portugal, check out this video.